Megan is Missing is one of those stories that keeps me up at night, and you guys have been begging me to cover it, so today I'm finally doing that. But before we get into anything, I need to clear something up first. Megan is Missing is not a real case. It's a movie. It's fiction. A film that some guy made on a very low budget in the late 2000s and released in 2011, and which then basically just sat there collecting dust for almost a decade until TikTok got a hold of it in 2020 and absolutely lost its mind. But let me explain why so many people think it's real, because that part of the story is actually fascinating. The movie follows a 14-year-old girl named Megan who starts texting back and forth with a boy that she meets online who goes by Josh. He tells her he's 17 and Megan believes him despite never actually seeing his face because his webcam is always conveniently broken. And over time, Megan, who had been abused by her stepfather since she was just 9 years old and who was always surrounded by boys at school who mostly just looked at her body like she was something to use, starts falling for him because she was lonely and desperate for somebody to just actually see her. And Josh, it felt like he did. He listened. He remembered things that she told him. He made her feel like the most important person in the room. And for a while, it was actually perfect for her. Until one night, Josh convinces her to come meet him in person behind a local diner. And Megan, who had been waiting weeks to finally put a face to this boy she's been talking to every single day, she breaks the rules, sneaks out of the house, and goes to meet him. But then she never comes home because that sweet, patient, understanding boy she thought she knew, that was never real. Josh is not 17. He is a grown man who's been using her loneliness as bait from the very beginning. And the moment she showed up behind that diner, the act was over. He kidnaps her and takes her to his basement where he had already built a torture chamber just for her. Weeks passed and Megan's best friend Amy, 13 years old, just a kid, starts investigating on her own to try to find her. She starts messaging Josh directly, and pretty quickly she suspects that he's behind it. And Josh, realizing that Amy could blow this entire thing wide open, starts stalking her, learning her routines, following her to the places that she goes alone, the places she feels safe, until one day she's finally alone and he kidnaps her too and brings her to that same basement right alongside Megan. And what happens to the both of them in that basement, what those last 22 minutes actually show you, is what nobody who has seen this movie can get out of their head. I'll just say this much. There is a scene where Josh places Amy's childhood teddy bear in front of her while he humiliates her. And at the very end, he tells her he'll let her go if she gets into the barrel. And she does. But when she opens the barrel, Megan is inside. But here's the thing. None of it is real. And the reason so many people couldn't tell is because the director of this movie did everything in his power to make sure that you believed it was. The director, Michael Goy, before he even wrote a single line of this script, he went and buried himself in actual FBI files, real documented cases of children who went missing after being contacted by strangers online, real predator profiles, real case notes from investigators who had seen what happens to these kids. And he took all of that research, case after case after case after case, and he composited it into one single fictional story. So when the movie opens up with the words based on real events, he's not lying to you. He's technically telling you the truth, but it's not retelling one specific case the way that, say, Girl in the Bunker retells a story of Elizabeth Shoah, a real girl who was actually kidnapped and locked underground by a man that she had met online. That's a real case, a real girl, and a real crime. Megan is Missing is different. There is no Megan Stewart, there is no Amy, and there is no Josh. But the events, the method, the grooming, the way that it escalates, the way it ends, all of that are real things that do happen in the world to real victims. Michael Goy didn't want you to just know the story. He wanted you to feel it. So he made a choice that would change everything about how the film landed. He shot the entire thing like it was footage recovered from a real crime scene. Grainy webcam footage, shaky phone camera clips, fake news broadcasts. Nothing about it looked like a movie. It looked like real footage somebody had actually pulled off of a dead girl's laptop. And that was completely 100% intentional. He wanted you to feel like you were watching something real because he wanted the message to be loud and clear. Don't trust strangers. And it worked, but maybe a little too well. Because when the movie went viral on TikTok in 2020, millions of people, and I mean millions, genuinely believed they were watching real footage of a real missing girl. People were posting warnings, people were crying on camera, people were tagging police departments in the comments demanding answers to a case that didn't exist. The panic was completely real, even though the case wasn't. So I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but Megan is not missing. But although the movie is not real, it's still something that happens to teenagers every single day. There is no Megan Stewart, but there are so many girls with her story in those FBI files. Girls who met somebody online who knew exactly the right things to say, someone who built enough trust over enough weeks that by the end of it, these girls would have done anything for them. And when they did, that's when they were gone. The goal of this movie was to attack a huge and growing crisis of teenagers trusting strangers on the internet and then going missing. The film was designed to scare parents and make teenagers think twice before they typed back to somebody they'd never met in person. And it worked. But like I said, maybe a little too well. But then again, what if that was the goal all along? Please stay safe out there, you guys. Stranger danger. I'll see you in my next video. Group hug.